7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken, put 100 on the tees with the streak for the cash. He ESPN, Seth Curry with the shot. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, Eldad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow Butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win. At the 2-yard line, and make no mistake, we running it in. Pete Carroll, we see you.
Thank you for visiting 32 Kings Road, hosted by the league ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and it is my pleasure to be here today with 2 of my brothers, plus Kevin. This is episode 37, second season of our show, and in honor of the flu season and Ambassador Dad being out sick, we thought it'd be a good idea to take a look at the sick teams in the NFL, meaning the ones that have no shot at the postseason. We started this tradition last season, and coincidentally, it was the exact same episode last season. It was episode 14. So we'll reconvene with our medical responsibilities and provide some prescriptions for some of the ailing teams in the NFL. As a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That's Twitter, that's Facebook, that's Instagram. Also, check out our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors, and our website, theleagueam.com. Click on Game Previews once you go to 32 Kings Row, the 32 Kings Row portion of our website, and check out Chef Curry's decrees. Shout out to Nick Blackman, our chief diplomat and diplomatic immunity. Let's get this show going.
Let's go.
Redo, what you sipping on, baby?
Sipping on a couple of things. I'm going to keep it quick. One is congratulations and a shout out to Mr. Winky Wright.
Yeah.
Just inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
Yes, he was.
The man fought in obscurity for years. He couldn't get a fight in the United States, so he fought overseas, and then he came over and wrecked shop, so it's much deserved.
Had a mean edge up.
Every time. Him and Doc Rivers had the same barber. The other thing is something that's coming a little closer, every week.
That's to you. That's for you, Kenyon. You ready?
Chargers are the Rams, baby. We coming home.
Make a decision. Make a decision. End of the season, Mr. H is going to make a choice between these LA teams, the Rams or the Chargers. All the way with McVay or
all in with Edmund. All right. Kev, what you sipping on?
What's up, guys? J. Cole, please don't sue us. I'm sipping on the second half.
Hey, if he watching, we made it.
Hey, I agree to that, Omar. I'm drinking the second half of this Bud Light. And the fact that this past weekend was pretty physical in the NFL, pretty petty. We had Rob Gronkowski and Juju Smith-Schuster both get suspended for unnecessary roughness penalties. For the first time in a while, I think the NFL got this one right.
Really?
Suspending both of them for at least one game.
Gronkowski should have been suspended for a couple of games.
And he should have been charged with assault and battery.
Listen, for personal reasons, I need Juju to miss this game. And I also need Gronk to play against the Steelers in 2 weeks. So
the Juju stuff is definitely, I think, legit. I mean, they made clear that the Hines Ward crackback blocking is dead. But the Gronkowski stuff,
there's no way they suspended the same amount of time.
That's foul. Junior Blue, what you sipping on?
You know what? I'm sipping on this Stella today. And also the fact that the news came down that Aaron Rodgers was going to be back, but he's not their savior because they still not going to make the playoffs.
Really?
Nope.
Of course not. Down goes Frazier.
All right, I'm sipping on this Beef Eater. Shout out to the UK. And we went 3-0 last week on our teases. Yep. So real quick before we get into what we really want to talk about in the Sipping On segment, we got Cincinnati and Chicago. Cincinnati 7-point favorites at home. Tease the line down 7. Take Cincinnati. We also have the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Washington Native Americans. Washington's flying out here. Again, Chargers, 6.5-point favorite. Tease that line down. Take the Chargers to win. And then we have Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has opened up as a 6.5-point favorite at home. I want you to tease that line up to 13.5 and take Baltimore.
Hey.
It's a rivalry game. They're always going to be close. Also, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati just got through beating the hell out of each other. It's a short week. Going to be a very physical game, and I think it'll be a close one. So that's Cincy to win. That's the Chargers to win. And then that's Baltimore to cover at 13.5. Put $100 down. Thank the league ambassadors. Omar, we rolling, baby. We 3-0 2 weeks in a row, 21-11.
I'm taking Pittsburgh.
Don't call it a comeback. All right, down to the real nitty-gritty. So, I'm really sipping on. It was announced, I guess early or last week around this time, I think after we shot, that the Players Coalition, which was a group of NFL players led by Malcolm Jenkins and Anquan Boldin, had come to an agreement with the NFL. They'd come together basically to sort of elevate the discussion around the anthem protest. And the first thing that they wanted to do was they wanted to create dialogue and understanding around social justice issues that happen here in America. And then they got buy-in from the league to actually allocate resources to address some of the causes. The commitment came in the form of a 7-year agreement, $89 million. In addition to that, of which it's an escalating sort of award, so it'll be $5 million this year, and then it'll max out to, I think, 2022, where it'll be $12 million. In addition to that, each team owner is going to give $250,000 a year that will be matched by the players on each team. So $500,000 a year, in addition to the $89 million that will be then allocated and distributed to a few nonprofit organizations as well as a trust that the Players Coalition, they'll be able to actually do some community work as well. So that's the good news. In addition, also, it was reported that this was not a quid pro quo situation. So, in other words, the NFL came to this agreement with the Players Coalition, and they didn't ask for them to stop protesting. The bad news is the day after that was announced, Dolphins safety Michael Thomas and San Francisco 49ers safety Eric Reed put messages out on Twitter basically announcing that they were withdrawing from the coalition. And basically, Reed in particular was expressing concerns and saying that Malcolm Jenkins and Anquan Boldin weren't communicating with other members of the group, or they weren't communicating with him, that the agreement or the deal that they came to as representatives of the player coalition was not something that everybody that's involved in the coalition had agreed to, and expressed reservations, frankly, about Jenkins' leadership specifically, and so felt like it was necessary to withdraw from the group and to basically do their own thing. And so the question I put to you guys is, do you agree with that? Is that a good thing or a bad thing in light of what happened and what was achieved? Where do you stand? How do you feel about the actions that were taken by both Reed and Thomas?
I personally feel like the $89 million should have been a start. It shouldn't have been the whole thing. And although they weren't told that you have to, end the protest, that's what that $89 million was for. I mean, to be honest, that's what they did it for, to end it.
Regardless, the money that they give them, if it was $800 million, it would have been to end it. So the amount of the money to me doesn't matter as much as $89 million is freaking $89 million. But it's what is done with the $89 million. The problem I have is with because just go back a year, Kaepernick, no one ever thought the league would be giving up $89 million on something that Kaepernick started. I reluctantly said it wasn't a movement, but if this is the end result, that was a movement because they got the league to blink. But I have a problem with airing the family laundry in public when there were strides made by these black men, and even though you go back, I guarantee you there was a lot of strife between Martin Luther King and other folks. And I'm not comparing them to them, but I'm saying like there was no social media for people who didn't like Martin Luther King to air it out to social media. So you can air it out in the family. I wish it would have kept in-house instead of being aired out in public where it looks like we can't win for losing.
Kev?
Yeah, and when I first heard that the NFL owners, these same NFL owners we've been talking about all season would donate money to causes to benefit the African American community, my first thought, and I'm sure everybody else's was what's the catch? Because there's no way they were doing this without getting something, or at least feeling like they were getting something in return. And I think it is an issue that, like Omar said, that there's friction, but I think the underlying issue is that it's not that we have two separate approaches here. It's that we're working for two different results. There's some players who flat out just think that, we get money, they donate money to all of a sudden, that's a win. And honestly, it's not, especially when, based on some of the reports and coverage that I've read on this from different mediums, is that the owners have an overall say on where this money's donated. One of the causes, the first cause was the United Negro College Fund, which is white people's go-to donation. Like, of course, give the United Negro College Fund money. Another one was that 50% of that money went to the Players Coalition, but then they were obligated to donate that money to the Hopewell Fund, which, after looking on their website, the only black thing on there was the 3 children on the homepage. None of their missions go to issues involving police brutality, racial inequality. So at the end of the day, they're getting money from the same people that they're fighting against just to turn around and donate it to something that isn't what Kaepernick started fighting for. So to me, if these reports are true, then I can side with the players that left because, like Omar alluded to, this goes back to the civil rights era where hundreds of different movements and activists who have butted heads because we were fighting over, do we want a seat at their table or are we trying to make space for our own people at our own table? And I think when we want two different outcomes, this is what you get.
So, and I think that to me was the biggest takeaway and the most disappointing piece of it, especially when you look at, and Omar, spot on, you referenced the civil rights movement, but not only the civil rights movement, you look at what happened to the Black Panthers. And COINTELPRO, which, for those of you that aren't familiar with what that is, was a program that was started by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI. And this was a subversive covert operation who thrived on sort of destroying political movements, and the basic premise was creating and causing division. And that, to me, is the biggest disappointment and biggest letdown about this. I don't care that 50% of it went to the Negro College Fund or 50% of it went to the Hopewell Foundation. There is money, there are resources that are being allocated, and there are nonprofit grassroots organizations that are out there doing the work that I trust that guys like Malcolm Jenkins and Anquan Bolden are going to be able to get those funds too. But more importantly than that, you have an opportunity, and why this whole anthem protest was so galvanizing in the first place was that you were using a large platform, which is the NFL, to spotlight an issue, and at the same time, with that spotlight comes responsibility. And Michael Thomas, Eric Reed, you have a responsibility to know that previous movements have been destroyed, have been stunted because of division. So for you to, and it's ego, when you look at the article that Reed contributed to with ESPN, the stuff that he taught, it was petty stuff. It was about communication. And could Malcolm Jenkins or whoever was in leadership, could they have communicated better? Perhaps. We don't know. We only know one side of it. But what I do know is,
get your hand on my pocket.
These men took a stand. They got results that are going to help advance the movement. They brought spotlight and attention to the movement. and there was progress made, and it's now being negated, and it's in front of white people. Let's just call it what it is. These white NFL owners who I'm sure are now looking back and saying, so now what do you want us to do? They can't even agree amongst themselves, and they want us to help with their issues. So it's unfortunate. And you look at, the other thing you want to look at too is you look at the KKK, you look at anti-Vietnam War protests, COINTELPRO, they were after those groups as well. But you know what? The anti-Vietnam War protests, they were successful because they stuck together. The KKK is still relevant and in power and effective today because they stuck together. We are the only ones, any movement that we've had in this country, we can't stick together, and thus the goal and the agendas of what we want to accomplish are blunted.
I mean, I said that. I just said it a lot faster than you.
But again, I think the responsibility, I understand if in any case where someone's making progress, the right kind of progress, and I think it's important that we note that they get credit, because these guys were working on their individual. If
you in it for credit, you don't need to do it.
That's right.
They were working for their individual funds before this coalition came together. But I think what's important is those who decide to work with the same people that you feel as though are holding you back also have to realize that how this situation can look as though they're selling out, because Malcolm Jenkins went and met with not just Malcolm Jenkins, it was Anquan Bolden, Glover Quinn, Josh McCown all went to meet with Paul Ryan, politician Paul Ryan. They took a photo, and if you are able to find it online, look at the caption. Paul Ryan's caption said, "That moment when half of your fantasy football team shows up at your workplace." That's not what they're there for, and oftentimes we get treated as the dog and pony show. So like Omar was whispering under his breath when you were talking, Kenyon, as long as the people that are oppressing you have their hand in your pocket, you're going to have this dynamic where it seems as though you're selling out, or when you get money, all of a sudden Malcolm Jenkins' Black Power Fist protest stops.
That's an individual.
It shouldn't stop. They're doing something they're doing the right thing.
Well, that's an individual. I think that's
the right thing.
Well, I think in both of those instances, you're talking about an individual decision. So it's Paul Ryan's choice to put whatever caption he wants to put up there. I don't care what caption you put up there. If I know what my purpose and what my agenda is, that's not going to stop me. That's number one. Malcolm Jenkins deciding to not raise the fist anymore, again, that's his personal choice. All I'm advocating for and all I'm saying is that if we're going to talk about having a movement and leading and organizing a movement, we must stick together, especially in the face of adversity. That's an absolute must.
I can agree with you on that, but I think we also have to realize if we want the same thing, then we fight together. If we're fighting for two different things, then of course this is what you get. And I think in this case, as in many cases before, someone wants a seat at the table, at their table, and someone else wants their own table. Well, and I think it's important we realize what page we're on.
Well, here's the thing. It's okay to have, which is something that we fail to realize a lot of times. It's okay to have differing agendas and still have the same goal. We can have a seat at their table because they've had a seat at our table for 400 fucking years. But it's okay for us to have our own table. It's okay as long as it goes towards the same goal. And once people realize that, the bickering and the petty shit goes away.
And when you're talking about this specific situation, I'm not quite sure what a seat at their table would be. Like, what seat is Malcolm Jenkins trying to get at the table of NFL owners?
Because all he is a player.
He is, and we can't solely expect NFL players to fix this whole issue.
That's
but
right.
At the end of the day, they got money to go to what exactly? What exactly is this money going to?
I think he was referencing house Negroes and field Negroes.
I personally want to know what the conversations between Malcolm Jenkins and Eric Reed was. Like, what kind of communication did they have before Eric Reed pulled out?
I think he just, from the article, from the interview that he gave, it was simply, I think that they either were holding out for more money, or it wasn't money that they had a difference of opinion in terms of
what they could accomplish.
And I think Malcolm Jenkins' perspective was, I mean, to what you said, Omar, we're getting more money than, this is more money being donated to this cause than what they spend on breast cancer. Any other sort of social initiative, this is the most. And we can't, I mean, part of a huge argument with Black Americans is the lack of resources. To Kevin's point, there definitely has to be proper oversight in terms of how the money is distributed. I definitely know that money is going to be going to grassroots nonprofit organizations that are doing the work. Any sort of contribution helps, whether it's, to Omar's point, 800,000, 800 million, 89 million. And I think that should have been enough, because again, this isn't going to solve the issue. We're not looking for the NFL. No one should be looking for the NFL or NFL players or owners to solve the issue. But this is a significant step, not only in terms of the money that was gained, but as I said, it started a dialogue. Like a lot of these owners who 98% of their teams are black players weren't even aware or cognizant of the injustices that even their own players face. So it creates awareness. It's taking advantage of a platform. There's enough good there, in my opinion, that you need to stick with that.
And don't forget, these are still just football players, man. These are not revolutionaries. They're football players who, in the end, they are caught between a rock and a hard place. They want to move the process forward, and they also want football to not be damaged, because it has been damaged by this whole process. So we have to be cognizant of the hard place that they are in, because they have choices to make. And we can easily sit here and talk about it, but we're not making the same choices they're making.
Nah, because they have families to feed, and like with Kaepernick, it could cost them their job.
So we've got 10 teams that we have deemed are going to be done and finished. They are already finished this season. The Chicago Bears, Omar Chicago Bears, the Denver Broncos, the New York Giants, the San Francisco 49ers, the Houston Texans, the Arizona Cardinals, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Washington Redskins, the Indianapolis Colts, and, of course, the Cleveland Browns. We will start with the Chicago Bears. Junior Blue.
Why are you laughing?
And the only reason why we're starting with the Chicago Bears is because when we did this episode last season, we started with the Chicago Bears. So we just figured we'd keep it going. Kevin dealt with them.
I'm pretty sure you figured we'd keep it going.
Kevin dealt with them last year. Junior Blue, is on you. They're 3-9. Last place in the division. What do they need this year so that they can be better next year?
First off, they need to fire Fox. That's number one. And they need an offensive mind there. Their defense is pretty good. So let's bring in our favorite offensive coordinator. Can you name him?
Hugh Jackson.
Jim Bob Cooter.
Fuck no.
Jim Bob Cooter?
Nope.
As
What's he doing that's great?
he would improve your offense. That's for sure.
Anybody would improve on offense.
Well, look, let's bring him in. Let's bring him in. Now, you guys have about $40 million or so in cap space. And what I would do with that, re-sign Prince Amukamara.
Bought out of his mind.
Then also re-sign Kendall Wright.
Did his job.
Exactly. And I would try my best to sign either Don Terry Poe or Tremaine Johnson, because you guys have to get rid of Fuller. The other cornerback is
Why would we have to get rid of Fuller?
Because he improved at the beginning of the year and then he fell off.
He struggled the
He
last 5-6
struggled.
weeks.
Like in
No,
and that's what,
he struggled the last 3 weeks. I don't know, 5-6 weeks is. He struggled mightily.
So let's improve that other, because your defense is good. It just needs upgrades. I say Don Terry Poe, another
I feel you.
a defensive tackle who would help Floyd on the outside, because if you get pressure up the middle, that eliminates some of the double teams that Floyd gets. You guys actually do have draft picks. I actually didn't think you had many because of Trubisky trade.
I'm gonna keep sipping on this vodka.
So let's see here. You guys have a first-round draft pick.
Ain't that a bitch?
And with that, I actually feel like you guys should trade back. If you guys don't get one of the top defensive ends, I feel like you should trade back. And
slated to get the 6th pick in the draft as of right now.
And I would actually trade back and try to get, let's see, either Alabama's wide receiver Calvin Ridley.
That's what I want.
Or Cortland Sutton from SMU.
One of them.
One of the two wide receivers would help Trubisky.
Well, we have to trade back to get. They would be still available.
They would still be available.
Okay.
There's no top 10 wide receivers out there, really.
Yeah.
So trade back to get them. Or if you want to add that opposite defensive end to Floyd, Clinton Farrell from Clemson. At first, he was a late first rounder, early second rounder. So if you could get him in the early second round, that would be beautiful because that would also add to your defense. So what I would do with your team is strengthen the defense, add a defensive tackle, another corner. In the draft, add another defensive end to go with Floyd. Mm-hmm. Now you have a pass rush and you have a secondary that can run. But hiring Jim Bob Cooter improves that offense.
His name is fucking Jim Bob Cooter. I can't do it. He can't be my head coach. Jim Bob Cooter.
Hey, get used to it.
It's interesting.
I'd rather go to New England.
You went through an exhaustive sort of breakdown of the Bears, and aside from mentioning that Kendall Wright needed to be re-signed, what are we doing with Kevin White?
He's cut. Clipboard. Is he not Sammy Watkins?
And
assistant coach?
And then
he can't even teach wide receivers.
And then do you want to draft another wide receiver, or are you going to look for veterans? Because I think you went the young route.
But honestly, in the free agent market, there's not really that many wide receivers unless some get cut.
Jarvis Landry, Omar's favorite, Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, see, I wasn't going to put him on the list.
But give Sammy Watkins credit. He
stayed healthy.
He's number one, has stayed healthy, but also it's hard when you're being traded right before the season starts to really be assimilated into the offense. And he's had 3 or 4 weeks where he's played well. He's
coinciding with Robert Woods going down.
Right. So I think that,
I mean, he's an option.
I'm just saying versus, and one question,
I think
Omar.
you do both. Why
you're going to keep going back to the well with
No. I'm saying you need to sign a free agent and you need to draft. We are bereft of receivers. It's not like we're close and we just need one. So you need to do both. It's not a Detroit situation where every year you draft a wide receiver, but Kevin White is a failed experiment. And again, I agree with most everything you said, except for, like I said, I would rather go to New England instead of Jim Bob Cooter.
Kevin, Omar dropped the word bereft for you. You have the Denver Broncos, who are on this list because John Elway didn't realize that he didn't have a quarterback, and also thought, I think, that he had a better running game than what he actually has. So it means no offense. How do you fix what's going on in Denver?
Well, I hate to say this to a young black coach, but get rid of that motherfucker. Vance,
you're off of Vance, bro. Joseph?
Already?
Yo, get him out of there. It's not working. It ain't his fault, but listen, this year has proven, get rid of your coach, start over fresh. You can do it every 2-3 years if you need to until you get it right. And I think they take the same approach with their quarterback. They don't have one. They got 3 quarterbacks on their roster. 3 or 4, they don't have one, which is my point. I think with the way that season's going now, they may end up 4-12, 5-11, or they could finish 3-13. They don't win another game. Mm-hmm. I think they will probably be one of the 4 or 5 teams that have a top 5 pick that will take a quarterback. And I'll get into my other team that will probably end up with the 2nd or 3rd pick. But I'm looking at their free agents: Virgil Green, Donald Stevenson, Jamal Charles, Brock Osweiler. Nothing that I think is standing out. They have about $11 million in cap adjustments for 2018, and I think you look and try to get in Baker Mayfield. They're not gonna draft a black quarterback, so Lamar Jackson should just go ahead and pass on that. Or if they don't want to go the development route. Who knows what's going to happen with Kirk Cousins? I don't know if he's willing to come out west, but he'll be out there. Sam Bradford's in an interesting situation, going from the starting quarterback to now the 2nd, 3rd string, depending on what's up with Teddy. So he'll be out there. As far as receivers go, I definitely think they need to add to what they have with Thomas and Sanders. Eric Decker, I believe, will be a free agent. He had a pretty solid tenure with the Broncos, but. Yeah, man, this is like a 2-3 year building process as far as finding out who their quarterback will be, what their identity will be, because like you said, they were a run-first, defensive-minded team,
right? And
their quarterback's not getting it done. Their running game isn't impactful. It's just across the board. I think they have to scrap their offense and start over.
Question for you: if they get like Cousins or Eli, are they a playoff team?
No, because of that division. I mean, the Chargers are up and coming. The Raiders, who I think obviously had a drop off this year, but they're young and they have that ability. And I think the Chiefs come back healthier next year, but with Andy Reid still calling plays, I just don't see them competing for a top spot. Not in another year or two.
So there's no reason to get Manning or Cousins if you don't think a year or two it does it.
I mean, John Elway's on the hot seat, so he's gotta go for broke. But I just don't think with what they have and just putting a piece in there all of a sudden is gonna make them better.
I think
than what
there's
the
a
Chargers
difference
have.
between Manning and Cousins because Manning would be brought in as the veteran to groom a young quarterback. Cousins is your quarterback. He's in his prime. So he is your quarterback. There's a difference between what your plan is if you bring in one or the other.
Offensively, I think the question that Elway's got to ask himself is, because you can get a quarterback, right? But you got to ask yourself, do I not have a running game because I don't have a quarterback? Or have my running backs not been properly evaluated? Now, C.J. Anderson 2 years ago was a 1,300-yard back.
Hog.
He was a hog. And now, 2 years later, it's looking sketchy. Is he getting older? They went and they brought in Jamal Charles. They drafted Devontae Booker, right? So if you believe, and this is to answer your question, if you believe that you do have the pieces in the backfield, then it could be as simple as just getting the right quarterback to come into play. But I think that's the question that he's got to ask himself is my running game suffering because I don't have the quarterback, or has my running game regressed because the talent has regressed? Devontae Booker is not as good as I thought he was. And so if that's the case, then it is a rebuilding project.
Or should he look in the mirror because he hasn't been able to develop a young quarterback?
Or evaluate talent, period.
Here's the thing, though. The defense is still top-notch, right? We agree with that?
Yeah.
You still have two good receivers, right?
Yeah.
So all you need is a quarterback and a running back? That's not – and you have quarterbacks as free agents this year.
They only got $23 million in cap space. Not a lot of money compared to.
So you give one and you draft one.
We'll move on to the New York Football Giants.
Oh shit!
Who?
We need a whole show just for this.
Hey, they've already started on my recommendations. They started before we did the show. They fired Jerry Reese. They fired Ben McAdoo. But honestly, you look at the free agents that they have available. They've got half of their offensive line that's going to be free agents, 2 of their starting linebackers. You've got an old Eli Manning. Honestly, this is a complete teardown and rebuild. And I know New York, the fans in New York, people in New York, when you think about New York, you're not thinking about rebuild. I think you trade Odell Beckham and you get as many picks as you can get for him. And I think you start from scratch. You trade Eli, you're only going to get, a 5th or 6th rounder. Jacksonville, maybe Denver, somebody like that will give you, a compensatory pick, something.
I would give up my whole draft for Odell Beckham. I don't like him.
Something to placate. But I think that you let those 2 guys go, because the thing is this, is if you try and rebuild, right, they're talking about, what decision they're going to make with Eli. And if they get another young quarterback to pair with Davis Webb, Odell Beckham is good. He already wants a new contract. He's going to be a free agent pretty soon. He's going to be a problem. So get ahead of the wave, let him go, let Eli go, and start from scratch. And that's what you do. They only got $26 million in cap space. And like I said, they got about 14 free agents, 10 of which are current starters. So I think they need to, and with the high pick, they're going to have a pick anywhere from, either top 2 or 3 pick. I think with that pick, you get another first-round pick with Odell Beckham, you let Eli go, and you blow it all up. Get a new coach in there.
They can have our first-round pick.
I'm just saying. I think that's what you got to do if you're the Giants. Redo, you got the San Francisco 49ers, who have the most money.
$110 million in cap space.
They got a lot of money in cap space.
$110 million.
It appears as if they got their quarterback.
Well, we know they got the quarterback.
So what are we doing?
So that changes the landscape in the NFL because they do have the quarterback. Because the big thing was everybody thought Kirk Cousins was coming out west because of his relationship with the head coach. So that changes the landscape actually for a lot of other teams. But let's get back to San Francisco. Like you said, $110 million in cap space, which is number 1 in the league, which is ridiculous. I don't even think there's any way for them to actually spend all the cap space.
Right.
They have 9 draft picks, which is insane, but they also have, more importantly, 2 draft picks in the second round, 2 draft picks in the third round, which are great value rounds where they can use those picks. And now that they don't need a quarterback, so let me back up a little bit. So first thing I did was try to evaluate team needs. And how many different positions are there on the team? So you got lineman, O-lineman, wide receiver, quarterback, running back, D lineman,
Linebackers,
secondary. So that's 7. They need 7. They have 17 needs. Like every position is a need, which is why they have $110 million in cap space.
Right.
They I think their notable free agents are Jimmy Garoppolo and Carlos Hyde. Now, we know they're signing Garoppolo. Well, we don't know, but we're assuming they're signing Garoppolo. Carlos Hyde.
They gave up a second-round pick. They're signing Garoppolo.
Carlos is actually a question mark because
Le'Veon Bell's going to be a free agent.
Man, listen, with $110 million,
with $110 million,
and Carlos Hyde is not Shanahan's type of running back. Actually, he's more of a one cut. Shanahan likes to one cut and go downhill, and that's not what Carlos Hyde his strong suit is. So the thinking is he won't be here next year. Their highest free agent that is out of the 10 free agents this year that are be available in 18 will be paid. This year was $3.5 million. They don't have any free agents that were on the team that was being paid over $4 million. They need talent.
Yeah.
So we know they can spend the money.
Right.
So you can overspend to get certain skill players or whatever you feel you need. The thing they need to do, because they have the quarterback, is they don't have to stay high in the draft anymore. They can trade back and get more picks. If we think Lynch is what he is as a GM, he will get the talent he needs to start building that team around Garoppolo.
So everything is in place from your perspective. Everything is in place. They just need to hit on the picks, basically.
Yes,
and overpay.
They're going to have to overpay
for the right free agents.
Exactly. So they definitely need a 1 and a 2 wide receiver.
You don't think Pierre Garçon is that?
They definitely need a 1 and a 2 wide receiver. They need that. They need interior O-linemen more than anything. They need pass rushers, and they need linebackers.
Ezekiel Ansah will be a free agent. They've got some young pass rushers, like Eric Armstead.
The problem is, but they need
Solomon
depth
Thomas.
also.
Yeah.
The problem is with free agency, it's a crapshoot because you don't know who's going to get franchise tagged. You know if somebody may work out a deal with the team that they're on. So it's hard to plan around free agency until it actually gets here. But you can plan around those 9
Nate Solder will be
draft picks.
Probably the best left tackle available in free agency.
The front office, they're good with, and the coaching staff, they're good with. So it's just about hitting those draft picks.
The next team is the Houston Texans. They're 4-8 in the AFC South. The only reason why they're on our list is because Deshaun Watson tore his ACL. So, Kev, is it just a matter of making sure that Deshaun Watson comes back healthy?
I wish it was that simple. You got to remember, J.J. Watt is the face of that franchise. In the last few years, he hasn't been healthy.
What are we doing with J.J. Watt?
Give him a clipboard.
Hope he get healthy.
I think that's all you can do because he's that great that he can single-handedly change a football game. But if he's not there, then you got to invest more money on that defense because, especially in the division they play in, they got to score points. And without him, without all the money invested in him, we know Brian Cushion. Is he still suspended?
Yeah, he's still suspended. I think he's already suspended for next year.
They should cut him.
Cut Cushing.
Yes, but I've been saying that for years. That the problem with just looking at J.J. Watt and the way he's built for greatness, but he's also built for the short term. His body cannot hold up under all that of what the explosiveness and it's the way he built is his body doesn't look sturdy to me.
That's so unfortunate when you're a team. It makes me think about the Philadelphia 76ers with Joel Embiid. Right. When you are held hostage, like you could be great, but you are held hostage by this transcendent player that's also very injury prone. That's a tough spot to be in. Kevin, to your point about the defense, I just keep replaying that Seattle Seahawks game in my head, and I feel like they got to address that secondary. Jonathan Joseph, who's 33 years old, getting a little long in the tooth, he is their number 1 free agent. Junior Blue, are you bringing him back?
I am bringing him back, but I'm also going after Malcolm Butler.
Ah,
Whatever. Malcolm Butler.
$54 million in cap space.
Yep.
They got a little change.
Yep. I also said Nate Solder because they lost Dwayne
Brown, you got to replace him.
Hey, talk about Mr. Clowney, though.
Ray New England.
Ray New England.
They've done it before. Houston's done it.
Bill O'Brien.
Yep.
Question: what would be the cap hit if you cut the face of the Texans?
I don't know what the cap it would be if you cut J.J. Watt. We'd have to
Probably
Google
like-
that.
Because at this
20
point,
million.
if
But
I'm,
I was
but
kind
you
of
know how I am.
I was kind of getting at. I was getting at
if
that
you're
with
not
Kevin.
the future to me, you don't need to be on my team. That's the way I've always
So
felt.
you cut J.J. Watt?
And start over because Clowney has been balling out of control.
I think Junior Blue is looking it up right now what the cap hit would be.
Because
That's interesting.
at this point, you need to move on to the future. You cannot keep building your team around somebody who has proven he is injury prone. It is now it's no longer a trend. It's a fact.
Kev, you cutting J.J. Watt?
No, after
yeah.
what he did for Houston this past year,
Yeah.
not yet. At least, not yet. He's gotta. If he can give him one full season to be healthy, if he can be half of what he was, you keep him on your squad. Depending on what the
He
cap
doesn't
is.
know how to do anything but full speed, and his full speed will always cause him to be injured.
That's
Depends on what that cap hit is.
Cut him. You cut him and the dope fiend, and you start over,
dope fiend.
or trade him. Find somebody for
Brian Cushing.
Yeah, Cushing. Cushing be on the block.
They do have Jadeveon Clowney and that boy's for real.
Yeah. Okay, it's time for our Brexit-Bootbag Award winner. And actually, this week, our Brexit-Bootbag Award winner is also our Get the Fuck Out of Here with That Bullshit nominee, Junior Blue.
All right, so the Kansas City Chiefs all-pro cornerback, Marcus Peters, got a little frustrated with his team spiraling out of control against the New York Jets. 2 minutes left in the game. They gave up a go-ahead touchdown, and the team was up. The Jets were up 5 points. They were going for 2 in order to be up 7. So there was a pass play. Marcus Peters' teammate gets a holding penalty, and Marcus Peters decides, you know what? I'm going to take this flag, and I'm going to chuck it into the 10th row. Of course, getting another penalty on top of that. And for some reason, I think he thought he was ejected because he runs off into the locker room. Now, of course, the next play, the Jets score the 2-point conversion, go up 7 points. And Andy Reid basically realizes, you know what? Marcus Peters isn't ejected. He sends a runner to go get him. So, in that time, he obviously had his shoes off, his socks off. He probably was like Kevin with his pants off. And he comes back out, no socks on, with his shoes. And basically, that kind of sums up how the Chiefs have gone 1-6 in their last 7 games. So for that, you are this week's Brexit-Bootbag winner.
He's too good to be that stupid.
That's Oakland, baby. Oaktown.
Is he from Oakland?
Yes.
He makes all the sense in the world.
Marcus Peters. By the way, that cap hit for J.J. Watt, if they cut him right now, would be $12.5 million. That's not a lot of money.
It's not at all. You give
$12.5 million.
get rid of, or you trade him. Somebody will take him. Get a draft pick.
He's too good to do that.
I'd be more
he's too
inclined to
good.
trade him.
What do you
Omar. I'd be
mean?
more inclined to trade him before
He's
cutting.
not too good because he's not on the field. That means he's just as good as I am, and you know I am not good.
Whoa.
Hey,
We are equal if we're not on the field.
and somebody paid him $10 million, so anything's possible.
Yeah, and we shouldn't have.
All right. Let's go to the Arizona Cardinals, who they're on this list because this was the year for Carson Palmer to get hurt. You know, every other year he always gets an injury.
Yep.
And this was the year for that, so they're on this list. I believe they are at, 5 wins or 4 wins at this point? 4-8, 5-7. In the NFC, going 9-7 is not going to get you into the playoffs. $16 million in projected cap space. Their free agents are Justin Bethel, Tyron Branch, all of their receivers not named Larry Fitzgerald. They were headed to Chicago Bears situation with all their wide receivers being free agents, but Larry Fitzgerald signed a 1-year deal. But Jerron Brown, John Brown, free agents. Carlos
The odds
Dansby,
of having 2 fucking Browns.
2 J Browns.
Yeah.
Carlos Dansby is a free agent. Arizona only got 16 million, guys. So, we've thrown Arizona in there as being one of those teams that could be in the Kirk Cousins, Drew Brees, Eli Manning type sweepstakes. But at $16 million,
This is, to me,
blow it
if it's at 16 million, the only thing you can do, you got one option. You send what's his name, the head coach,
Bruce
Arians, to talk to Eli 1-on-1.
to trade for Eli.
Yeah, it's the only thing he can do, because
Does Bruce even want to come back though?
Yeah. And does Eli really make him that much better?
if Bruce doesn't want to come back, then we go back a couple segment and Les is blown out the fucking water, because that's who the Bears get. It's Bruce Arians.
Full circle.
I don't know if Bruce wants to come back or not. He said that he does. There was reports saying that he was going to be done after this year. The thing about Eli, though, is Eli, unlike Carson Palmer, is durable. We know he's going to be there. He's going to play. Larry just needs somebody to get it to him. They traded for Adrian Peterson, and, he looked pretty good. It was just unfortunate that Carson got hurt when he got there.
But they won't need him next year because DJ's coming back. Yeah.
David Johnson,
Yeah, he can't play. If David Johnson is healthy,
he's gone.
Yeah,
he's gone.
You don't need him.
So if they can't pay for a free agent quarterback, I think, like I mentioned earlier, the teams that'll have top 5, top 7 draft picks, they're one of maybe 2 or 3 that need a quarterback. Maybe they trade up and try to get Baker.
That's exactly what I have on my.
Baker Mayfield? So you guys see Baker Mayfield as being a top 5 pick?
I can't believe no one's brought up Josh Rosen yet.
It's relative to everyone else in the draft.
Cleveland's coming up.
I feel like, though, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, though, Larry Fitzgerald re-signing, I feel like they are going to try to go after a veteran core. So maybe they have to cut some players to create a little bit more room. But I don't.
But if they,
they do need to. First of all, they do need to draft. Let's be clear. They do need to draft a quarterback.
Right.
They missed out on Patrick Mahomes.
You draft a quarterback
and
you trade for a veteran.
The problem is with the cap space they have, they still need to sign the people. They need to sign Carlos Dansbury. They need to sign Tavon.
I don't know who
maybe
Carlos
that's
Dansbury is, but Carlos Dansbury.
Well, first of all, there's been some wording mistakes this whole episode, so let's just keep going. I've been silent.
He took off the oath and added the Uri.
But to me, that the fact that their cap is a mess is the reason why I believe Bruce would rather leave, because he doesn't want to go through a rebuild. He knows his career is not going to be too much longer. I'd rather be with a team who doesn't have to rebuild.
Let's stay with you, Omar. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who are on this list because Jameis Winston would rather...
Stop stealing my thunder, man.
He'd rather eat W's.
Listen. So they have $62 million in cap space.
Got a lot of money.
So that's 5th in the league right now, $62 million, which is a lot. The problem is they need to take 2 of that million, and they need to spend it on counseling and for Jameis Winston, because the man is losing his fucking mind. He's walking around eating his hands, and people are looking at him like this shit is okay, and it's not. It's not cool. Like, they fired my man Lovey because they thought Dirk Cutter would be the man.
And now Dirk Cutter about to get fired.
As he should. Like, first of all, the GM should have been fired for drafting
Jason Lick. We forgot about Jason Lick.
didn't.
He was supposed to get fired. He was supposed to get fired before the season started.
For drafting that kicker.
Yeah.
Fucking, like, who does that? But anyway, like, once we get counseling for Jameis, he might be all right, but I think there's a point where, as an organization, you have to start wondering, is it time to start drafting quarterbacks again? He is, how long has Jameis been in the league?
This is 3 years.
This is 3 years. So he still cannot throw a deep pass
accurately.
An accurate deep pass to save his life. And he has all the offensive tools in the world. You have 2 good tight ends. You have DJ. You got
Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, who they just drafted.
Yeah, you have all these offensive weapons, and you can't get him the ball. And you are supposed to be the man. Half of it, I think, is mental. There's something going on with Jameis. I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, he has not progressed. He has regressed. And I don't know if that's coaching. It could be the coaching staff, but they thought they brought in the guy who was supposed to. They let go the other head coaches because they thought this guy was the one to bring Jameis on.
Do you think that what Jameis needs is he needs the threat of being benched? I could see a guy like John Gruden, for example, being like, listen, Jameis.
See, now you're going back to, what was the show on
Hard Knocks.
On Hard Knocks when John Gruden and Cutter was nervous because John Gruden was walking through the building, and they showed the fact that he was nervous. But I don't know if...
Because there's no consequences for Jameis right now.
But does that make... Wait, hold on a second. So Jameis has a couple issues. One, besides the mental issues, as a quarterback, he holds the ball too long. And he cannot throw an accurate deep ball. The holding the ball too long, that is something that is shown in quarterbacks who do that. That is hard for them to let go of. That's almost like a trait that is hard to let go of. C.J. Cutler. The accuracy, I don't know if that is something that is just mental because we know he has the physical tools to throw. He has the power. He has the arm strength. So is that just coaching?
Kev?
I think you be patient with this one because this will be the end of his third year, which means next year is the end of his rookie deal, which means he has 140 million reasons why he needs to improve, whether it be mechanics or his decision making. Because
so do you do what other teams do, which is because they have a high draft pick? Do you draft one of these good quarterbacks and then see if he pans out and then trade the other quarterback?
No.
Okay, so let's move on. O-line is not a problem. It's middle of the road. It's not great. It's good. They need to move on from Doug Martin or he needs to get back on those PEDs because ever since he's been off the drugs, he's been sex. The defensive side.
Shout out to Dev.
Shout out. I gave that to him. The defensive side. There's not one professional bloviator in the world who thought the Tampa Bay Bucks would have a defense this bad. They thought that would be a strength of their team.
So Mike Smith is fired, is what you're saying.
Somebody has to get fired. Mm-hmm. Mike McCoy only
Gerald McCoy.
Gerald McCoy. I'm sorry, because you said Mike. Gerald McCoy only has 5 sacks, and he has 0 help. Their line is horrible. Their line play is horrible. Now, the back end is good. They have 20 interceptions. So it's not like, but Grimes is a free agent. So, and you might want to start young because his wife is a headache. The other one of the free agents is T.J. Ward, the strong safety. So you might want to resign him. He's not a big cap hit. But basically, the offensive side is set. They can spend. They have 9 draft picks also, so you can spend a lot of your capital and your free agent money on the defensive side. But you also need to get rid of that GM. You need to get rid of that coach.
So this looks like another organization that we're advocating. They need to clean house in the front office and on the sideline.
Well, he should have never made it past last year anyway, and they know it.
Next up are the Washington Redskins, who, again, they already have 7 losses. And as I said before, 9-7 is not going to cut it in the NFC. They have about $60 million in cap space. Are they going to waste $35 million of it and do another 1-year deal with Kirk Cousins? They should not do that.
I don't know if he would because he's a UFA, isn't he?
No, they can do one more
year.
they can do one more franchise situation with him. Absolutely. But I think
3 years.
I don't know, but I know that they can do one more.
This is his second. I thought that I'm sorry, I could be wrong, but I thought you can only do it twice.
No, you can do it more than twice because he can do it again one more time. I think it's 3 years.
Wow.
But they need to sign him to a deal. Let's just be clear. Jay Gruden, I have been impressed with the coaching job that he's done this year. The real reason why they're on this list is because they have had injuries all over the place. Literally last Thursday against the Cowboys, I think they lost their entire offensive line and the backups.
Not the entire.
So they need guys. They need to invest money into their. And I feel like this is a joke Omar has made. They need to invest money into their training staff, into their training department. But I think it starts with Kirk Cousins. Josh Doxson, Jamison Crowder are good building pieces at the receiver position. They paid a 1 year, did a 1 year flyer deal with Terrell Pryor. It didn't work. So get another receiver in there. They're good at the tight end spot. I think Vernon Davis is a great sort of complement to Jordan Reed. The 6 games that Jordan Reed misses, Vernon Davis steps up and produces for them. I think defensively, they've got some pieces. They got Josh Norman. They just need health, really is what it is. Jonathan Allen, when they lost Jonathan Allen, which was their rookie defensive tackle out of Alabama that they took in the first round this year, that was a huge hit for them defensively. If they can just stay healthy, they are in place. But I think the biggest thing that they need to do is they need to show Kirk Cousins the money.
Long term. Because they didn't show it to him
You're
year
right.
after year. So, yeah, long term.
Are we sure?
Yeah, I think we're sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Kirk Cousins is good.
No. I don't mean that. Are we sure about the franchise tag?
Oh, yeah, we're sure about that as
Okay.
well.
See Les and I's debate from Confirmation Bias.
Kevin, Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to keep the pink slips rolling here. Chuck Pagano.
How many coaches have we fired on this episode?
My guy, at least 6. Listen.
That's how many get fired every year anyway.
Ain't nothing wrong. Chuck, you're a great guy. You're a great coordinator. I loved you when you were here in Baltimore.
You watch movies.
You watch movies.
I like movies. You like movies?
That shit in Indy ain't working. And I think their number one question as offseason starts, and we've talked about it on the show, is what they do with Andrew Luck. Despite what we may think, I think they stick with him. So yet again, another bottom 5 team that won't be drafting a quarterback. But I think a lot of their issues start with them not having an identity. We don't know what to make of them other than whoever comes into Lucas Oil Stadium beats on them. So with this being an issue, I think you have to start with improving up front, whether it be your offensive line, defensive line, because no matter who you have at quarterback, whether it be Andrew Luck or Jacoby Brissett, he's getting killed behind that offensive line. If you're going to put your franchise quarterback back out there after several injuries, several surgeries, and you can't protect him in that division where you're playing against Deshaun Watson, you're playing against what should be the high-flying Titans and the number 1 defense in Jacksonville, you got to put up points. If you can't protect that guy, then they're going to be in trouble.
Right.
As far as free agents go, they got a list of important guys on that team. Frank Gore will probably end up retiring, I think, unless he signs another year.
And going directly into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
As a dark-skinned running back, we got Kamar Aiken, Dante Moncrief, Vontae Davis, Jack Mewhort. Will Adam Vinatieri play any longer? He's probably the best player on that team right now. That 40-something-year-old kicker. As far as cap money goes, they got a significant amount. I think it's close
87.
to maybe 80. Yeah, 87.
Yeah.
Which sounds good as a GM, but Chris Ballard has continuously failed on draft picks, which is why that cap number is so high. They don't have to pay anybody. Well, at least they don't live up to it after their first 4 years in their contract. So I think for them, it really starts with, if you're going to stick behind Andrew Luck, protect him. And I think you can put any weapons around him. A good quarterback will make those guys better, but you have to get stronger up front. Otherwise, he doesn't have a chance. He'll be back on IR by this time next year.
Chuck is the Doc Rivers of the NFL.
Whoa. Doc Rivers won a title.
No, I just mean he's over fucking rated. He hasn't won anything since his coordinator left and went on to bigger and better things, like Thibodeau left.
Oh, Bruce Arians. Okay.
That's a good point, Omar. I'll give you that one.
You're welcome.
Last but not least, well, actually,
I'm about to say, yeah.
it is the least. We've got the Cleveland Browns, who, if San Francisco has 117 million, Cleveland's got like 116 million. And they got like 30 draft picks. Junior Blue, what do we do?
It is time. I hate saying this.
No, don't you say
No,
it.
don't do it.
No.
It ain't time.
Time to let Hugh go.
No.
They can't.
And the reason it's time to let Hugh go is because we've all discussed his play calling. And he's supposed to be an offensive genius. But yet he does stuff like does quarterback sneaks from the 4-yard line to go right before halftime and don't score. And lose by 3 points. They have 0 wins. That could have been one of them. Now, after that, you're going to have to overpay everybody because nobody wants to go to Cleveland. LeBron lived there. He barely wanted to go back. So you have, and another thing, like you said, they have 1 million draft picks. Well, they have 5 in the first 52 picks, basically.
Yeah.
So
Potentially could have 2 top 10 picks because Houston's pick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I suggest you guys have to build this squad. You have to get your franchise quarterback. You have to get him. Now, whether that's Rosen or Darnold, you have to choose whichever one.
I don't think Darnold's coming out.
Well, then it's Rosen then. Because I don't think Mayfield is a number 1 pick.
You don't think Mayfield's the top?
I don't think he's number 1.
That was interesting.
Yeah,
we can
he's
come back.
number one.
We'll have a draft show, but that's an interesting sort of.
So let's look at it this way. Fire Hugh, bring in Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator
For the Detroit Lions.
He's
just trying to get rid of Detroit.
No, but listen to this. This is
You're just setting
also.
black coaches up for failure.
But look, with this $100 million, this is what you do. You bring in the Rams cornerback Tremaine Johnson, Dontari Poe, defensive tackle, next to Shelton. Hey, Ezekiel Ansah.
Okay.
But wait a second.
From where?
Poe is
Detroit?
already
From
in
Detroit.
Chicago.
But you got to fight for him, right? Who got the most money?
Tremaine,
play both sides
listen. Tremaine Johnson was also in Chicago 20 minutes ago.
Make a decision.
Tavon Branch. Basically, you're improving each level of your defense, which
Okay.
they need.
Okay.
Then with your draft picks, you go quarterback, get Rosen. Barkley, hopefully he slips to 6'7".
Saquon Barkley.
Slips 6'7". Now you have a 3-down back and your quarterback of the future. Sort of sound like Dallas. What Dallas did.
The Dallas blueprint.
You turn around, you get your right tackle, outside linebacker, and draft a young cornerback to match up with Tremaine Johnson. You have to hit on the draft picks. And hey, they have a black GM. He's only been in the job for a year, and this is his prove a year right here.
See, that's what I was going to go to is you're looking at Hugh. Hugh's proven, okay? The only thing these nerds in Cleveland in the front office are proven at is getting more draft picks. But the actual picks themselves, the players that the person, and we're not just talking about draft, we're talking about also free agency. They could have went out, they could have kept Terrell Pryor. Instead, they went and they got Kenny Britt. And he's been a colossal
pick,
bust.
right?
Who?
And that was a no-brainer.
What's his name?
Oh, they hit on Myles Garrett, and they almost
out of all those picks,
and they almost blew that one too.
Right.
So you're telling me you're going to run the front office back, but fire Hugh?
Hugh's in game. That's in-game decision.
You're going crazy over there. Give him some talent.
Well, hold up. Get him out there.
I think this is the perfect opportunity to get rid of the front office. They did their job. The nerds did their job. They got us a whole bunch of picks. Now go get you a veteran talent evaluator, Dave Gettleman, Ernie Accorsi. I don't care. The guy out of New England. Like, whoever, get them to take advantage of because you are literally one draft away from setting your franchise up for 5 years. I don't think you can trust these number crunchers.
You can't. And trust me, I watch more Cleveland Brown games than any of you. Because I have to watch them at least 2 times a year, and they have no shot. The only shot they have is if Cincinnati fires Marvin Lewis, so they're the second worst team in the AFC North. Other than that, the Browns are never going to get out the dumpster. They're not.
Junior Blue?
What? I already said it.
See, my thing
I already
is,
said it.
As an organization, my philosophy will always be the trenches. Every great team, every great organization that's won a Super Bowl, besides maybe the New England Patriots and maybe New Orleans, they have spent major capital in the trenches, the O-line, the D-line. If you take care of those two, the rest of the game is easy. And they have too many picks not to take care of those.
Well, their O-line isn't that bad. And then
build depth. They got 100 draft picks. Build
their
depth.
Defensive line, they're building that, and that's what they should continue doing.
I want monsters. I want in 4 years, I need to figure out who I'm going to pay and who I'm going to let go.
All right. Well, that will conclude our discussion around the sick teams in the NFL. There's still the despicable ones. There's still some teams out there that are definitely in the playoff hunt that we probably could have discussed, but we'll see what happens in the next few weeks. Let's get to our Week 14 game picks and fantasy feedback. If we take a look at our standings here, and Coach Joe is making a move. He is now tied for second with yours truly, and we are 3 games behind the pace setter, Dad, with about 3 weeks to go in the regular season. It's closing time for Omar. It's almost closing time for Les. Kev, you got
I am equivocal, bro.
Kev, you got to bust a move. The 3 games we got this week, we got, first of all, the Philadelphia Eagles coming here to L.A. to take on the Los Angeles Rams. The Eagles are coming off of a little bit of a thumping up north in Seattle. Kev, who you got this week?
I'm going with y'all L.A. Rams. The Eagles flying west. And it feels like, that what you talked about a few weeks ago is that when they come up against legit competition, they kind of waver. And their 2 losses this season are on the road. So
They actually stayed here the week. So that's another problem.
Redo?
See, I feel like they're going to go to One Oak on Saturday.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rams at the house.
All right. Yeah, I'm taking the Rams because the thing with the Rams is you got to be able to hold them under 15 points. And I don't see the Eagles doing that. I got the Rams. Rams. All right, let's stay with you, Junior Blue. The Seattle Seahawks flying east to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The upstart, Kevin's Jacksonville Jaguars. Who you got, Junior Blue?
I have the Jags. I have the Jags taking Seattle.
I got the Jags as well. Letdown game. This screams letdown. Seattle was excited because they wanted to teach a lesson to Philly. They fly across country to the dump that is Jacksonville, and they take a dump. Redo.
I'm taking the team who has an actual quarterback.
Russell Wilson. Kev.
I agree. Birds flying south. I'm going with the Seahawks.
All right. Stay with you. Well, we already know what Kevin thinks. Baltimore, Pittsburgh.
What's understood don't have to be. Let's go.
Redo. Baltimore, Pittsburgh. At Pittsburgh.
Steelers.
Yeah, I told you to take Baltimore to cover, and I mean that because it'll be a close game, but I do like the Steelers. I just don't see how Baltimore scores enough. Junior Blue? Steelers.
Hey, shout
Y'all
out
not
to
drinking
Shazier.
enough purple juice.
Matter of fact, I can go first on fantasy picks because I'm taking the Steelers.
Wow.
I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that.
I actually think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder this game. I think Steelers are going to beat the shit out of the Ravens.
Kev?
Omar, you sound like someone whose team fucking sucks.
What I sound like is that one of the Bears' sloppy seconds has to win this game, and I'm going with the Steelers. Because we beat both of y'all motherfuckers.
You walked into that.
Listen, Juju's, I'm not just saying this as a fan, but Juju's not playing. Shazier's not playing. And when was the last time they blew us out, Omar, since you know so much about this rivalry?
Never.
Moving on.
Who your fantasy picks, Kev?
Fantasy pick. Les, I'm with you, son. I'm going with Derek Carr against Kansas City, LaShawn McCoy against Indy, and Amari Cooper for another 10-catch, 900 reception yard game against Kansas City. Let's do it.
Junior Blue?
Hey, I got Matt Ryan versus the Saints, LaShawn McCoy versus Indy, and Keenan Allen versus Washington.
I'm taking Eli Manning. They made him the starter again. I got Eli Manning. I got Josh Gordon. Okay, I needed to see a game first. Folks, I saw a game. Josh Gordon is unreal.
What he said is he's going to play a lot.
And Marquise Goodwin. He's got a quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. He caught 8 passes last week going against that Texans secondary, Marquise Goodwin. Fantasy recommendations. This has been 32 Kings Road, episode 37. Once again, please follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. Please visit our website, theleagueam.com. Our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. We'll see you next week.
White people in the room can relax now.
Cheerio.
I'm sick, Bird.
7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken put 100 on the tees with the streak for the cash. ESPN. Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's mowed like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, L Dad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow Butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win. At the 2-yard line, and make no mistake, we running it in.